you can never motivate a demotivated person, right? You're never going to do that, but you can demotivate a motivated person. So personnel wise,
You're listening to Titans of the Trades. I'm your host, Ryan Englin, author of Hire Better People Faster and creator of the CoreFit hiring system, a proven process to help growing companies attract and retain only the best. I'm on a mission to revolutionize the perception of the trades and elevate it to new heights. After growing up in a blue-collar family, my passion for making the trades cool again runs deep. If you're a titan in the industry and want to be on my show, stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can be my next guest. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Ryan Englin, and this is Titans of the Trades. Today's Titan is Jonah Canter, and he has got a great story. Started out in startup world. So he didn't actually grow up in the trades like a lot of people that we know. And so he brings a very unique perspective to something that we all struggle with. Everything from how to approach things differently, how to recruit the best people, how to train them, and how to create a company that's profitable that does not rely on you. We're going to cover a ton in today's episode. So if you're behind the windshield right now, no worries. We will have all the links and everything in our show notes. Otherwise, get ready to take some notes. And I want to introduce the owner of Canter Construction, Jonah Canter. Jonah, welcome to the show.
yeah, I appreciate you having me on today.
I think we're going to have a good conversation here, a couple of things I want to talk about. But before we jump into that, share with our listeners a little bit about you. I know you've got multiple companies. You come from a world of startups. And so you probably bring a different perspective to construction than what most people are thinking. And so share a little bit about that.
Yeah. In the early 2000s, I was lucky enough to be a part of some software startups that were trying to solve some complicated problems in the publishing industry. And that's where we really cut our teeth, or I cut my teeth on understanding, when you have a problem, trying to put the right energy towards the solution. And so with the particular publishing company that I was working for at the time, we were trying to print one book at a time, which in the 2000s was unheard of. And anyways, through time, we did solve that problem. And then it caught the eye of Amazon, who ended up acquiring the company. And then I ended up working for Amazon, living overseas for a while, opening facilities at a very young age. But it really taught me the business side of things and how you solve problems at a very early age. And I looked towards the construction industry because I saw it as an area that really had a lot of problems, but they were all easily solvable, right? And just people weren't really paying attention and trying to attack them. It's one of the things that really drove me to the industry and to the 4 companies that I own today.
No, that's cool. I love it when you have that outside perspective. There's so many people in this industry that grew up with the wrench in their hands, right? They grew up in the trades and they went and became a contractor, but they didn't have that outside perspective saying, how do I solve the problems that were at the last company I was at? Like all the problems that you left to go start your own business with, those all followed you. And so having that outside perspective, I think is incredibly valuable.
I feel like in the contracting world, everybody is just falling forward a lot of the times, and they're not trying to take a deep breath and stand back and assess, like, for their businesses, their employees, like, how can I make change? How can I make this better? It's the fall forward. Like, we just got to get the next check and we got to get the next job. And so I've been lucky enough to have a lot of smart individuals that work for me that allow me as a owner to take that step back and survey the land, if you will, and understand best ways to move forward with our companies, whether it's through new client acquisition, new deals, or coming up with new hires within the company.
No, that's great. Checked out some of your websites, some of the work that you guys do over at Canter Construction and some of this high-end quality work. And I know for a lot of people right now, they struggle because either they don't have enough of the good, high quality labor to make it happen. Maybe they're just flailing around going, you know what, I guess I'll get back in the truck because I can't figure it out. And they'll go out and they'll do the work. And it really hinders their growth, their ability to actually make profit inside the company. What are some of the things that you've done? What are some of the ideas that you could share with our listeners? And how do you get out of the truck? How do you get out of that day to day? How do you actually have a business that you own instead of a business that owns you?
Yeah, I think it starts with something I did with Canter Construction early on. I was trying to figure out how I didn't want to pay for leads, right? And I didn't have enough reviews and all this stuff for them to naturally, organically come in. And so one of the things that I did early on was I attacked the real estate agent world and basically said, hey, we are licensed. We can take care of your CL 100 sign offs, which is very specific to here in the South. We can take care of your repair addendums. And what was great about that was you had two agents on either side and typically two couples on either side, right? And so you were the main person that would come in and deal with the repair addendum, and then the house gets sold. And then the couple that bought it's like, hey, you did this work. Could you do a deck for us or a bathroom, right? And those building that relationship with real estate agents was really important for me. That grew our business early on, but back to the point of like where we are now, I always wanted the next better clientele, meaning try to get to the 1%ers or as close as you can to the people that have very high desires. They have the money to pay for it and they're willing to spend the money on the quality and the service level that we give to them. And so starting out, that was an easy, organic way to do it. Now it's changed and morphed. And as you know, I've been in business for 18 years with Canter Construction. So one thing I saw was like the advent of social media being really important to showcasing things. And social media is interesting because like, if you look at Facebook to Instagram, yes, they're owned by the same corporation, but Facebook tends to be more your tire kicker, drive by, I'm playing around at work kind of people who may be looking at your business for services. Instagram is very visual, right? And so we put a lot of effort and money into Instagram to showcase before and afters, have videography instead of just still pictures that were taken on an iPhone. This was really indicative of a hire we made and a guy named Stephen Demert, who's our in-house social media videographer, photographer, does drone footage. He really makes us look good. And that was really important to me as I branched out long ago from doing the repair addendums and the nitty gritty stuff into the higher end stuff. You can't just do it and not showcase it. And also, you can't showcase everything you do on a website. It would be too convoluted. So you cherry pick your best ones and put in your websites. But Instagram, everybody doom scrolls, right? And they can get access to tons of videos. And the biggest thing I'll leave you with too on this is that we really hate when you see like a real estate video and they're like, welcome to 194 Rutledge, come in. Like everybody's doing that, right? We try to make it where it's cinematic and it's more about like the people, the client. And it's almost like a movie or we're documentarians. That's the approach we take because we want to be different and sell the idea, not the service. So
You're thinking like a real marketer. And anybody that's followed me for a while, they know that in the trades in general, we just have marketing issues. Like it doesn't matter if you're B2C, if you're B2B, if you're construction management or just GC, it doesn't matter who your clients are. We don't market very well in this industry. And I think a lot of people, they relegate themselves to what they have seen but done before. And so they're paying for PPC, they're doing the commercials, they're wrapping their vehicles really fancy because they think this is what sells it. But I'll tell you what, if I'm in the market for a new kitchen or bathroom, like I want something like what's on your website, what's
correct.
on Instagram. That's what I'm looking at. And I know my wife, she'll find a remodeling contractor, even if they're not local. And she'll just follow them and she'll just be like scrolling through like, oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. And I love that you're saying, like, think about the way the consumer is consuming the information, because that's really what you're saying.
Yeah.
They can consume it on the website or they can consume it through Facebook, be tire kickers. But what they really want is they want that luxury experience, which Instagram creates for them.
It does. It's so funny how Instagram has evolved. I mean, people used to just would take pictures of food. I remember when Instagram first came out, I was still working for a tech firm. And I remember the guys were walking to lunch and they said, you need to get an account. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, you take a picture of your hamburger and you describe it. And I was like, that is dumb. They're like, whatever, we're going to lunch. Ironically enough, I got the handle Chucktown, which is the nickname of our city. And little did I know, that was the second week that Instagram was out, that how big, not my following was, but how many people tag at Chucktown. My wife hates it because it's always like some 20-year-old girls that are like, had a fun time at Chucktown. And they're taking a picture. And I'm like, okay, this is my account with the pictures of my kids and stuff. But yes, Instagram has evolved and it's become like this very artistic visual representation, at least for contractors and designers and everybody, where you're hearing a lot of like this, like cool music being in a vibe, if you will, that's being integrated into the business. And we take a lot of time and effort and push into that. Compared to Facebook, as I mentioned before, I just personally feel like because Instagram's a mobile platform. People are not just, yes, they're wasting time, but they're following interest. Whereas Facebook's like, too much is going on. You're catching up with an old friend 1 minute. Oh, that's pretty. It's like schizophrenia on acid for people. And you can do it on a desktop very easily. So people are doing that at work, probably when they shouldn't. So we've really pushed a lot of our efforts into Instagram because we see the bigger value in that for our company.
I love that. And I imagine too, my focus in the work that we do is helping contractors fix their people problems, like
Mhm.
overcome the challenges of not enough carpenters, for example, like in your world, right? Like not enough carpenters, not enough laborers, or maybe they do have them and they're struggling with accountability, they're struggling with performance, those kinds of things. And when I think about that, if you're marketing your high-end services the way you are, when a prospective employer or employee sees that, they go, wait a minute, that's some cool stuff. I want to be a part of a team that builds cool stuff like that. Or I've got the chops it takes. Or maybe even I want to work for a company that can teach me to do that kind of work.
Yeah, we just made a recent hire that epitomizes this. He's a project manager. He had interviewed with 3 other really high end builders and us as well. And he ended up going with us. And I asked him at the end of it, I said, I'm super glad you're going with us. He's young, he's smart, he's 27 years old, already has his builder's license. He's working for me. He has his builder's license, but
Mm.
he wants to learn the business. And I asked him, why did you choose us other than those other people? And he said, Jonah, I told my wife, I was amazed. You said that, you guys manifest everything that you do in your business in your life. And I started laughing because I did say that to him. And I don't mean like through some kind of mysticism or hoodoo. We think if you involve yourself with creative people, you will become a creative person. You will expand your mind outside of the norms of just contracting. For us, we do believe if we have focus and we put the right people towards the problem, we will manifest the solution, right? It's
Mm.
natural. And it really, for him as a prospective employee, he said that was what won him over. And he saw the ability to grow with this company with a solid group of smart, what he said was smart people. Now, whether we are or not, that's still to be determined. but it made me happy because I'm selling a culture here, even with my employees. And I've had other people come to me who are in the industry and they go, Jonah, how the hell do you get these solid people? Like they'll show up at people's houses and they're like, amazing, nicest person, so put together. And I say all the time, I'm like, you got to hire young, smart, motivated people. And that was Jonah back in 2000 when I was working for Amazon. You could give
Mm.
me a shovel, I would dig you any ditch. I wouldn't complain. What's next, boss? Right. And that elevated me in that company because they were like, this guy's great. Right. And so I try to impart that on my employees to go, the money will come. We will share in the proceeds of all of this. I don't leave any person behind. But when you're in your 20s to your 30s, that's your hardest working years of your life. And it should be, right?
Uh,
And you're going to learn the most at those times. So yeah, it's just great. From an employee perspective, you don't always have to find an employee that is a right fit for the exact job description. An example of this is he's my lead estimator. And quite frankly, he runs Canter Construction for me now. I found him and he was working at Tent World, which was a tenting company for car tent. And just a smart guy, I could tell. He was running the whole thing. He was dealing with really complex problems of employees that are $14 or $15 an hour employees who don't show up. Like you can imagine the frustration like that young man had to deal with. And he dealt with it well. And he was basically running that company. And I said, hey, would you like to learn and come over to the construction side? And he did have a background in construction. So I should say that, but he didn't have a background in doing estimation, but he had a drive and a will to want to learn. And we sat and he went for 6 to 8 weeks. He was tied at the hip to me in my truck. And I showed him, as I say, the Canter way to estimate. And he ate it all up. And now look at him. He does not only all of our estimation, he moonlights as a PM and he runs my company. He makes my life a lot easier. Wasn't really like the typecast person for the position, but business owners need to be looking outside of that. Now, you're not going to hire a plumber to do an electrician's job. That's not what I mean. But when you're
yeah.
looking for project management and upper level positions, think outside the box is the best perspective to have.
And I love what you said there. And I want to go back to something you did say, which was this he was tied to your hip for 8 weeks,
Mhm.
riding around with you. And I tell you, it's pretty common in the industry to focus on someone who has the skills and knows how to do the work, and then we just cross our fingers or we pray that they fit the team. They're that go-getter, that fix any problem, dig any ditch, whatever you need type of person. Like, we hope for that because we want the skills. And my belief is you can teach the skills. You can't teach those other things. I can't
Yeah.
teach Jonah to put a shovel in his hand and be like, hey, dig me a ditch. And you're like, where do you want to go? Like, I'll dig
Yeah.
whatever ditch you want. I can't teach that mindset or that behavior. I can teach you to dig a ditch, teach you to dig
There-
overwhelming, like positively, like you had expressed. So talk a little bit more about that.
yeah. Well, I think there's two things to think about. One is that you can never motivate a demotivated person, right? You're never going to do that. But you can sure as
Mm,
hell demotivate a motivated person. So, personnel wise, like giving them the tools to succeed, not throwing them out there to the wolves and making them just figure it out. Teaching the next person is is one of those super important things. And like, there's another quote I love. It says, I think it's Arnold Glassow, I think is the guy's name. It says, success is not a result of spontaneous combustion. You must light yourself on fire. I love that quote. I absolutely love that quote.
that's
Like on
great.
my epitaph, it should say that. And the reason why is because like you got to hire highly motivated people who want to learn. Elon Musk said you don't need to go to college anymore. All you need is access to a computer and YouTube, and you can figure anything out, right? I'm a believer in that, right? And so when it comes to the employees and trying to drive them, you got to first identify that they have the right attitude and motivation, and then you teach them the job or the role.
That's interesting. I agree with you so much, but I'm sitting here thinking in practice.
Mhm.
How do we make that happen? Like, it's easy for the guy who says, oh, I've got someone who's running my company and I got the time to go do those kinds of things, but you weren't always there. Like, you had to sacrifice or change your priorities or commit to something different to get there. Can you walk us through how that worked in your mind?
At the beginning of Canter Construction, it was myself. I had an office person who was not just an office person. They were doing bookkeeping. Hell, they were running trailers. We were just trying to sort it all out and had one project manager because the workload was enough at that point. And there was a lot on the front end for me. I was spending a lot of time getting the work. And then the second part was growing the company when the work came in. The thing I can say is like we just slow rolled it, right? You can't jump in and take every job that comes at you, right? You hope you have a consistent amount, right, to keep the lights on and family fed and
Hmm.
all that. But the best thing that I've ever done is I've never just jumped in and said, I'll take it all. Like, give me all the work, right? In fact, I stayed away from custom home building for almost 14 years, had the licensing to do it, but I stayed away from it because it wasn't my wheelhouse. It didn't, it's a whole different subcontracting group of people that you need and timelines and issues. It's actually way easier in remodeling. But we were set in remodeling, right? So I just stayed in my lane and slow grew the company. Now, the thing I'll say to people is that are out there, and it may be the guy that's nailing the trim boards on, painting it, sending out the invoices, all of that stuff. Okay. For those listeners who are like that, guess what? Buckle up, Buttercup, because I never stopped when I went home.
Hmm.
I got home, I ate, I got back up on the computer, right? And I had drive to work till 11 o'clock at night. Now, I don't do that anymore, right? I try not to, but
You paid your dues.
right. But you don't get to the NFL by practicing once a week. And when, Tom Brady, throws 5 bombs over your head as a cornerback, you're like, I don't understand why. No, you put the work in. You put as much as you possibly can and you'll manifest it, man. I'm telling you, dude, the work, people will watch you. They'll watch your energy. They'll watch how hard that you're working towards something. And that will be the drive for your business, for your growth and everything. But to come back to it, the thing is, I tell people like they think get a loan, get 4 trucks, get 15 people. No, start and sweat equity most of everything until you don't have to sweat equity. And then at that point, it's maintain, but always keep your foot on the gas, always thinking that there is a bigger, badder fish out there who's thinking faster and smarter than you are. And they're going to beat you in the industry if you're not keeping up with them.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about now. So we mentioned this training. I'm still really just in awe of what you did with your estimator who became now the guy that's running the company for you.
Mhm.
What does that training look like? Is he just shadowing you? Are you getting into the weeds with him, explaining concepts to him? Like, how did you train an estimator in only 8 weeks?
It's a great question, and it's got a funny story to it. When he got hired, I said, "Hey, look, every day you just show up at work and you get in my truck and we go, right? And you get a lot of drive time conversations, which are great." I was learning about his
Yeah.
family. I was learning about his past in between going and jobs and everything. And the biggest thing that I told him, I said, one thing I want you to watch when we go to these estimates is you'll get the estimating, right? Watch the interaction is what I want you to pay attention. And this is the biggest thing that I can teach you, and you have to do this. And what I would do is I would go into these homes and I wouldn't talk about the project for the first 5 minutes. How are you doing? It looks like I would be paying attention to things in their house, right? There's a huge rivalry in football, Carolina and Clemson down here. They have a
Mhm.
Clemson picture or whatever other thing. Oh, how's your football season going? Oh man, it's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. We would just be talking for 5 minutes. A lot of toys around you. I got 2 kids myself, man. It's crazy, right? You are setting the tone before you even talk about the estimate. Hey, we're approachable. We're likable guys. We're like you. Like, let's have a beer after that. That was what I was trying to show him. And that is an acquired taste. Some people have it. They're natural talkers, and other people you have to teach it to. After that, he started to watch how that kind of verbal judo was like really good in setting the tone for the clients wanting to interact with us. Now, when it came to the estimation, the actual workload, we had stuff set up in QuickBooks that was ready format, like tile work. And it was already, pretty much the description was in there, but he had no concept of how to price it. So we would literally go out to 3 to 4 estimates a day. Then him and I would come back. We'd work on 2 of them, let's say. The next morning, we'd get on 2 more of them. And it was just him and I going back and forth. And he was asking questions. Why do you price drywall at this? Why is this electrical? And so
Mm.
it just got to the point where it was just rinse, wash, repeat. And 8 weeks was almost at the 8 weeks too long at that point because he understood it. And he was a smart cookie too. He picked up on it
Yeah.
really fast. And he was not afraid to ask questions to our other project managers, which is very key. He is the first line of defense to make sure that the other project managers are on budget, with profit margins and everything. So he would interact with those guys, get information he couldn't draw from me. So he didn't just get it from me. He listened and learned it the way that I wanted him to do it and the way I wanted him to approach it. And then he was smart enough to go outside of that world, go into the other PMs, ask the subcontractors themselves, hey, I've got this job. I'm trying to price it out for Jonah. What do you think about this? So just a smart individual that grasp it. And I think the only way that you get that is by I could have spent 8 weeks doing a lot of other stuff, but this was such a pivotal and important role in my company. I dedicated the time to make sure that the guy that I hired was going to do it the right way.
Yeah. And love. So, one of the things that I heard you say that really stood out to me that I think was the game changer for you, besides your willingness, your desire, your commitment to do this, but you hired someone who was not afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
And I think in the industry, one of the challenges that I see is that we have this, I don't know, this kind of reputation of don't ask. I will tell you when you're doing a good job, most likely not, or I'll tell you when you're doing a bad job, and I'll remind you multiple times that you messed up. And so we have this reputation of like, we don't want people to bother us. But you not only were open to someone asking those questions, but you found someone who asked those questions. Like, what do you do to encourage that behavior, not only with him, but maybe with the rest of your team? Because it sounded like that was a critical piece of this. Like, if he hadn't asked questions, it may not have been, you would be telling the 8 week story is 8 weeks too long right now.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes to we're all adults and we want to be treated like adults, right? There's this in the corporate world, there's like this parent child relationship with your bosses up. You're not
Mhm.
smart enough. I'm smarter than you. I'm bigger, badder. You listen to me, blah, blah, blah. And it's just so demoralizing. You're like, guy, I'm smarter than you. I can run circles around you. But the thing there is like with all of my employees, I treat them like they're adults. I haven't yelled at one person ever. If you're so emotionally insecure that yelling is your way of getting something done, get out. Sorry,
Mhm.
you can't. Like nobody here
I'm with
starts
you.
right. And I always tell people, like even clients, I have a freak out moment. This guy is falling, and I'm like this. See my face? It's just the same way. It's business, right? If you get emotional about it, you're going to lose the battle. So back to the employees, things are going to go wrong. Like, we've had instances where somebody just plain messed up, and I'm like, okay, well, would you messed up, but have two sets of solutions for me when you come to me on how you think you're going to rectify it. And it just can't be, we got to pay this guy more, or we got to do this. And let's understand what led to that, right? So it's a teaching moment, but instead of it being a parent-child, we're colleagues. Like, you're just coming to me because I've done more stupid for longer, and I know how to do it better and not make the same mistakes that you might, right? So you come to me as this like wealth of knowledge, and I'll try to solve the problem for you. With our company, we have the natural vacation days, Thanksgiving, all the standards, but I tell people, you need to take time off, go take time off, right? Have all your stuff knocked out, right? If I need to ask a question, pick up your phone, but I'm going to try to avoid bothering you. If you have all your stuff together, you're not going to get a call from me, right? And that's the good thing. Just be somebody who I don't need to know about because everything's in line. And so from a culture perspective, we've done really well where you would think most companies are so scared of giving people this like unlimited idea of time off. And I'm like, no, because you hire dumb people that are trying to game your system, or at least that's your thought process. I said, my people are more worried about letting me down and what it would look like if they took too much time off. And I joke with them all the time. I'm like, listen, go spend time with your family. Weekends are for family and fun. But it's a culture that we build. And if you have that positive culture, your employees, they pick up on that. And then you just, again, I get back to the manifestation. You just watch it manifest in beautiful ways in your company.
Ryan Englin here. Thank you so much for listening to Titans of the Trades. If you're a titan in the construction, manufacturing, or skilled trades industry and would like to be a guest on my show, please visit podcast.corematters.com. If you found value in this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot on your phone and share it with a friend or post it on social. And if you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Titans of the Trades. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, click the subscribe button. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and get me one step closer to solving the labor crisis facing the industry. Want to know more about how we're doing that? Go to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.